Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here to talk about the upcoming BoxRec.com five-star fight between Juan Manuel Marquez and Michael Katsidis that's taking place in Marquez's home country of Mexico. Now, understand that um, this is a mandatory defense. So Marquez is not picking Katsidis as an opponent. Rather, he's fighting Katsidis because he has to fight Katsidis if he is going to keep his title. Now, that is very important in this fight. Let me just talk about a few things before I give my prediction. In MMA, they talk about different disciplines. They're much better than we are in boxing, right? They actually talk about different fight disciplines, and they'll talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as being a different fighting style than Greco-Roman, and they'll go down the line and analyze the fighters who fight using the different techniques in the different disciplines. In boxing, we just call it boxing, right? We'll go as far as to say, oh, he fights like that guy, but we don't literally take the group that works off a jab like Larry Holmes used to or Ali used to, and we don't call them jabbers. We don't take the guys who stay outside, come inside, land hard punches, then bounce to the side, again outside, come back inside, land other hard punches. We don't refer to that as the Manny Pacquiao, Amir Khan, Jean Pascal, Roy Jones school of fighting, right? We just don't. Um, there is a boxing tradition, I'll call it, that is tailor made to beat counterpunchers. It's a counterpuncher's worst nightmare, especially a 37-year-old counterpuncher like Juan Manuel Marquez. And the type of fighter I'm talking about is Jack Dempsey, Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson, Michael Katsidis. Might surprise some, but I actually believe that the base bet in this fight should be Michael Katsidis to win the fight in Mexico. You want to straddle it against Juan Manuel Marquez by KO because Katsidis is an all or nothing fighter. He's going to get hit as he hits his opponent. I do not see, if everything's on the up and up, and we've seen fights in different parts of the globe, Germany, other countries, that have had curious scoring. If the scoring's on the up and up, I actually don't believe that Juan Manuel Marquez can win a decision against Michael Katsidis. And I understand that the fight is in Mexico where Marquez is a hero. Let me make the argument. Marquez is a counterpuncher's counterpuncher. People who watch my videos know that I love counterpunching. Anyone who read my book knows that I consider counterpunchers to be the safecrackers of the sport. The problem with the Michael Katsidis, Jack Dempsey style is that they don't give you anything to counterpunch. What I'd like people to do is I'd like people to go look at the Katsidis Kevin Mitchell fight. You're going to see that when Katsidis is on the outside and he's bobbing and weaving, and that's an integral part of his fight style. The fight style, and again, it's the Dempsey, Frazier, Mike Tyson type fight style, is these guys bob on the outside, right? They bob on the outside. They aren't throwing punches. They're not opening themselves up, right? Then after they bob on the outside, they slip your jab, they get inside on you, and then you're dealing with a freight train, right? These guys, interestingly enough, don't waste punches, right? Take a look at Mike Tyson, very economical, right? They don't waste punches. They don't get inside and then go berserk. They get inside and they're systematic. They have an active defense. Look at Katsidis' defense. He has the defense up. He's not Joshua Clottey, right? He's not, Andre Kotelnik. He's not a fighter. He's not Arthur Abraham. He's not a fighter who holds his guard up and then can either defend himself or throw. No, no. This guy gets inside, and just like Mike Tyson, while he's bobbing and weaving with his hands up, he's throwing hard lefts and hard rights. And here's where it gets even deeper, I think. When these guys get up close to you, the punches they're throwing aren't big punches, right? Excuse me, not big, but they aren't long punches. They're very short punches. Again, look at the Katsidis versus Mitchell tape. They're very short punches that don't give a counterpuncher adequate time to counter the punch. It's much harder to counter a short punch than it is a long punch. And so, these guys always are a little bit shorter than their opponents, and they fight shorter, and they come in, and the counterpuncher just doesn't know what hit them. Right now, all I can say is this: Jack Dempsey in his prime, Joe Frazier in his prime, Mike Tyson in his prime, almost impossible to beat. The fight style is really a young man's fight style, and when a guy is on his game, you really have to hit that guy with bricks to get him off the tracks. Let me just point out that as each of those fighters aged, they started to get more hittable. Now, Katsidis is 30 years old. So he's older than, I would argue, any of the three guys I just named are in their primes. But Katsidis still has the head movement. He still bobs. He still seems to be at his physical prime. His two losses, one to Casamayor, and that's the more devastating loss because he went down three times, if I recall correctly, in that fight, right? That loss and the loss to Juan Diaz, a much lighter hitting fighter, did not take a lot of steam out of Katsidis' game. In other words, he's not yet reached the point where fighters with this very demanding fight style reach, where Jack Dempsey reached when he was fighting Tunney and Jack Sharkey, and where Joe Frazier reached in the rematch against George Foreman, right? He's not at that stage yet. So the way I see the fight happening is I see Casitas literally bobbing and weaving. Marquez is a slow starter to begin with. Don't judge him by the rematch against Juan Diaz, right? Judge him by the original fight against Juan Diaz. Marquez usually gives away the early rounds. Fans who remember his fights against Manny Pacquiao recall he went down three times in the first round of the first fight. He went down in the second round of the second fight. He's a slow starter. I believe that Katsidis, who's very economical, is going to stand around just like he did at the beginning of the Mitchell fight. Then he's going to slowly start to take the oxygen out the ring. He's going to start to cut down the ring on Marquez. Here's the problem: he's not going to throw enough punches for Marquez to figure out his punch pattern, something that counterpunchers need to figure out to beat you. Then, of course, I believe Katsidis is going to run through Marquez just like Mike Tyson ran through the sea of counterpunchers, which was the dominant paradigm of the 1980s. He's going to get inside. He's going to go to work. You're going to see that he hits harder than Marquez, and he is 7 years younger than Marquez, and he's not Juan Diaz. In other words, he's not throwing pom poms out there. He's throwing real punches, and he's going to be up close, up on Marquez. I think there is a distinct possibility, and I know this is going to shock some people. since Marquez went the distance with Floyd Mayweather, I think there's a distinct possibility in this fight that Katsidis wins the fight by knockout. Now, let me just also point out just a couple other things, too. This fight style is so effective that very few ways to stop it. One is by uppercuts. If you recall, Tyson started getting hit with uppercuts during his career. Fighters understood that they needed to time him and throw the uppercut, right? Take a look at the old Ali Frazier tapes. You'll see that Ali actually starts to hit Frazier with some uppercuts that Frazier had problems with. Um, while Marquez has a great uppercut and did drop Juan Diaz in their first fight with an uppercut, he's going to have to time it. I'm not sure if he's going to get the opportunity to. Let me also point out, too, that if you look at the Joe Frazier, George Foreman fight, the one where Frazier lost his title, you're going to find out that this fight style is so effective that Cus D'Amato, Mike Tyson's original trainer, is wrong. He said that it was impossible to come at George Foreman and beat him. Take a look at that fight. I would argue, and I'm throwing this one out especially for the older fight fans who YouTube is telling me watches my videos. Take a look at that fight. If Arthur McCanty had done his job that night in Kingston, he wouldn't have allowed George Foreman to literally push Joe Frazier off of him after Frazier effortlessly got inside early in that fight. That fight turned on the referee allowing illegal tactics. My point to you in this fight is Marquez doesn't throw the volume to keep Katsidis off of him, which is what Juan Diaz did to beat Katsidis, right? Marquez isn't a lefty like Joel Casamayor was, and so Katsidis should know the angles of the punches, right, as they're being thrown. He won't be hit flush by straight left hands as he was in that Casamayor fight, right? All I'm saying is fighters fighting guys like this try desperate tactics to keep them off of them, right? That's what Marquez is going to have to do. I'm expecting Katsidis to take control of this fight early. You do need the straddle because, as anyone who saw Katsidis against Graham Earl knows, Katsidis gets so overactive in there that he renders himself defenseless at times and is vulnerable to good, crisp, clean, short punches. There is a possibility that Marquez, who has an excellent left hook, could drop an over aggressive Katsidis. I like Katsidis as my base bet in this fight. I know he's the underdog. You should get better than even money odds on Katsidis to win the fight outright, right? Just take Katsidis to win, straddle it against Marquez by KO. There again, because the fight's a competitive fight, you should get better than even money odds on the straddle position as well, Marquez by KO. Keep in mind, as long as you get better than even money odds on your two options and one of them happens, then you actually make money. Of course, understand the risk. If the fight goes the distance and Marquez somehow at 37 is able to go the distance with Michael Katsidis, then you lose both parts of that. Let me know what you think. I think Katsidis is going to smother him. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Leave them for me here on YouTube. Leave them for me at gamblersadvisory.com. And of course, visit our Facebook page. It's gamblersadvisory.com on Facebook. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.